Hi, my name is Daniel Dunning, and my project was on price prediction, specifically with Amazon and some of the items on Amazon. So, a brief outline of what I'm going to talk to you about. First is kind of the problem and project overview. Next, I'll discuss some methods and then go over some of the results I found, a little bit of analysis and discussion with those results, and then finally with the conclusion and some possible future work with this project. So, first, the problem overview. Um, as I mentioned, it's a price prediction for products on Amazon. And so the goal is to predict future prices for some items on Amazon. Um, kind of do this by using some past price trends, and I want to look for a specific time when the price changed abnormally. Now, this could obviously either be some low lows when the price dropped a lot, or even some higher highs when the price increased more than expected. Next, I'll kind of talk about the methods that I went about to kind of study this and see what I could find. The tools I used were a website called Camel, which is an Amazon price tracker, and it tracks some historic data of the prices of certain items on Amazon. Some items give more background data, and others don't give as much information. The other tool I used was Python. I had a script that I was able to get from someone's open source GitHub repository, and I had to modify it slightly, but essentially it was used to pull some data and some information about specific items and products. And I also made another script. Again, it was actually using initially someone else's simple linear predictor, and I modified it a little bit, and I made a script to make some of my own predictions, and of course make some of the graphs, one of which you will see later in the presentation. The data from those product information trackers kind of puts it into a JSON file, and as I kind of mentioned, Camel is a fantastic resource to use, but it does have its limitations in the fact that some products need more history information of prices, and sometimes it can't give that to me, and so I had to do some research and a little bit of digging to find certain products that suited the project. So the simple process of the whole thing is to look up some items. I did 5 items that had an adequate price history on Camel. These items were an Amazon Echo, an LG TV, a Toshiba microwave, a set of weights by Bowflex, and some Bose headphones. Now, I pulled some information from those items, such as some reviews, prices, and other things like that. I was able to get average values for a specific time chunk within that price history that I got from Camel. Now, for most of the products, I did, it was a roughly 2 to 3 month chunk. I did a kind of even chunk based on the price history. For one of them, which was the Bowflex set of weights, it was actually, each chunk was almost a year because it had a lot more price history, and so I was able to go back farther and get a longer range of averages. I was able to run the simple linear predictor that I mentioned previously on those average values, and I kind of repeated, and once I got that value, I was able to add it to our list of prices, and I was able to repeat the previous 2 steps to continue predicting a new price, adding it to a list, and then predict a new price based on that extended list. I will kind of discuss some of the results I got right now. Obviously, with the project, nothing was too concrete, but I did find a little bit of interesting data, which I'd like to share. You can see on this graph the 5 items I have listed. The highest one up there is the TV, because it is the most expensive one, and a couple of the other ones are such as like the microwave or the headphones. And the lines represented in blue are the initial data values I was able to gather from Camel, and that I was able to pull with that data request script. The values in red are actually the extensions of that and my predicted values of what the trends of the prices of each of these products might be in the future. Now, I was surprised because I would kind of have assumed that they'd follow a similar trend to what they already had, but that was actually not the case, and I'll kind of discuss that in this next section, which is the analysis and discussion section. The prices, as I mentioned, they had a certain pattern when they first came in and when I was first analyzing them, but it seemed that based on, of course, as I mentioned, this it's a simple linear predictor, kind of does it based on some weighted random number based on the previous items. I expected the pattern to continue, and the pattern in actually most cases did not follow as I expected. I assumed that there were other factors other than just time that led to this discrepancy with the model I expected and the model that I was shown. One might be reviews. The reviews of these items might influence their prices to change differently than just a straight temporal model. If reviews kind of start to have a lower rating as time goes on, then the items will decrease much quicker in price than expected because the reviewers aren't happy with the product and people aren't willing to pay as much. However, if the reviews stayed pretty constant and even got better as time went on, then the price could actually stay similar and possibly even rise because the product was shown to be good and reliable over time. Another possible discrepancy is the novelty of these items, which kind of ties into the time. But if you have a new product and it comes out and it first comes out at a certain price, its price might fluctuate, either decreasing or increasing based on its novelty. If it is more novel and it kind of tapers off very quickly, well, then the price is going to kind of reflect that. Now, maybe there are some other items in a similar category. As I mentioned, all these 5 items that I chose, except for the Amazon Echo, which only has a couple competitors, most of them have quite a few competitors and other products in the exact same area. So if we have several of those products, that definitely plays an influence in the price of these items as opposed to just a strict decrease over time. Now, another thing besides a straight linear time progression that affects these is, as we know, certain times throughout the year are more prone to sales. Oftentimes around holidays are prone to sales, and especially we all know Black Friday, which just happened recently, is a huge drop in prices, and we were able to see that when we were gathering the data from Camel. The fluctuations always had a kind of constant drop around the November time. So just kind of wrap up some stuff and talk about some possible future work that we could do. Now, it's pretty known that the Amazon prices could be easily predicted, but I was hoping to see what type of models they would show and to see like what that would kind of hold for future prices. I did not take into account, which is why my expected models were different than what was actually shown, the other factors that will affect the price of an item and not just the price of the item over the course of time. There are more factors than just the price lowering over time that affect the overall price. If I want to definitely do some more work on this type of subject, I'd have to investigate more models. I'm sure there's some more out there that are much better and that could give me better and possibly more accurate results than just a simple linear progression. I definitely want to know the price history and run the model with a larger data set. I chose 5, and they were I had to do a little bit of like research and investigation and digging to get 5 good solid ones with a good history. But as with all studies of this type, it's even better results when you can increase that data set. It would also be nice with it kind of goes along with the model if I were able to add some custom weights for possibly different times of the year, like I mentioned, holidays or Black Fridays. Maybe I could add some weights. I mentioned the reviews were probably a big part of why the price differs other than just time, and I believe if you could add some sort of weight to that, similar to the temporal weight, we could see some more accurate results. With these different models I could possibly run, it would be nice to see if I could run the model on a set period of time and see how well that model performs based on the data itself, and then say that model seems to be good when comparing it to known data, and then continue on and use that model with future unknown data. So that's kind of it for the project. These are some references I used. I mentioned the Amazon information scraper, the baseline one that's used here, and the simple predictor, which as I mentioned, modified slightly, but the base one is also mentioned here. I also mentioned the Amazon price tracker website, camel.com. Thank you very much for your time, and I hope it was interesting. Thank you.